right, we got 30 minutes left with the head of the dailycaller.com, Tucker Carlson. He's also one of the main hosts on Fox News. You can catch him there with his commentary and also doing the news on the weekends. And, of course, he's been on CNN. He's been on MSNBC, you name it. And he's here with us right now. Of course, he does not have the customary bow tie. Why did you get rid of the bow tie?
I joined the mainstream, Alex. I'm just like everyone else. No, if you wear a bow tie, it's like a middle finger around your neck. You're just inviting scorn and ridicule.
Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah. Well, and I don't mind scorn and ridicule, but I work in New York and a lot every week, so I have to walk through Penn Station. And the number of people screaming the F word at me, it wore me down after a while, so I just gave in and became conventional.
You got told off for wearing a bow tie?
Literally every day. People will scream obscenities at you. If you wear just try it. Wear a bow tie for a week. Just walk down, go to down anywhere in Texas, wear a bow tie.
But see, I don't wear a bow tie. I have 50 calibers, just weapons laying around.
Well, you're
everywhere.
heavily armed, so no one's going to yell at you. But I'm not.
No. We just like to openly have our guns, kind of like the socialists openly say your kids belong to us. We're going to take over and take your guns. We just say, oh yeah, here are our guns, to flaunt them in their face, to try to acclimate them to liberty.
I love that about Texas. I grew up with guns. I grew up hunting from a really young age, and I don't know anybody who's safer around guns and more responsible with guns than people who grew up around guns.
Well, you are like a Uber man, like Putin or something, coming down to Texas just to hunt.
Of course. I absolutely love Texas. If I could make a living here, I would live here. My kids, we have relatives in Texas, and two of my kids were on their ranch last week, and they came back. We're moving to Texas. Everyone's nice. The food is great. You can shoot. You can fish. I mean, it's fantastic.
Well, we need you because all the socialist Democrats from the cities they've imploded, like Los Angeles, are moving here.
I know.
And they're literally turning Austin into California.
Well, this is what happened to Vermont. This is what happened to Maine. It's what happened to New Hampshire. I mean, you had these kind of sturdy independent states that were flooded by refugees from states they destroyed, like New York and Massachusetts, and then they spread the virus to the pristine states, which are now kind of depressing little.
And that's not rhetoric. They literally do it.
Put up a wall, baby. I'm serious. I gave that advice to friends of mine in New Hampshire, in Manchester, New Hampshire, 15 years ago, but now it's too late. Now New Hampshire is moving in that direction. Vermont is like, Bulgaria. I mean, it's unbelievable. Vermont was always a small government. I don't know, right-winger. It wasn't never right-wing, but it was always, pro-Second Amendment, get out of my business. I'm doing what I do. You can do what you do. We're not going to bother each other kind of state. And now it's this overweening nanny state run by super annoying people from other places.
And they come like locusts from the area they've already wrecked.
And they're aggressive. They're totally in your face. Like, I have a lot of problems trying to impose my views on other people. Like, I don't even with my kids. I don't lecture my kids at the table. I don't lecture people at, my kids' school. I'm not bothered.
Oh, no, they will come up and lecture my wife that we've got too many children.
Oh, no, literally. They are relentless and totally without shame. I believe in a...
Well, they call it nudging. It's
exactly.
It's like pecking like a hen.
There's, to me, a huge separation between my personal life and politics. I don't want to obsess over politics. I want to chase my wife around the house in an amorous way. I want to play with my kids. I want to have a normal life. Politics is worth getting involved in order to create the space for a normal life.
That's right. You have to fight them or they'll take over.
Exactly. But they never stop. Ever. They never stop with their political views. And when they come to your state, I'm talking about liberals here, some of them are nice, but I mean, they just want to control you. And I don't want to be controlled. And nor do I want to control other people. I hate telling other people what to do. I really do.
No, that's the worst part of my job. It's not fun. But people that love liberty don't want to be the boss. People that are into control, they want to be boss.
100%. And that's one of the reasons why it's an asymmetrical battle. That in the end, the authoritarians have the advantage because they are willing to break eggs to make omelets, whereas people like me aren't.
Looking at Piers Morgan, he never really imploded because he took over Larry King's slot that was already going down, and it went from 2 million viewers down to 500,000 viewers, down to 400,000 viewers, and the lecturing and all of it. But I see that as a bellwether of a rejection of globalism, a rejection of the nanny state lecturing people that he is so hated. I mean, when I blew up at him, They put that on every channel in the country, and it just re-aired this week again. I didn't give myself credit for it, but a lot of mainstream media gave me credit for kind of being the bellwether of the straw that broke the camel's back of Piers Morgan, I guess, being sent packing back to England. What is your take on him and the whole phenomenon of like he was Obama or something? They put everything behind him, promoted him, gave him every big guest, still fell right on his face.
The dogs won't eat the dog food, as they say in the political business. You can roll out the biggest ad campaign ever, but if they won't eat it, you're not selling any, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, I think in the end, he just didn't put on a very interesting or appealing show. I think the gun control stuff was alienating to a lot of people because it should, even if people agreed with him, he clearly didn't understand America. He didn't understand that guns for Americans are not just some affectation, not just some, symbol. They are integral to our country, to our freedom.
Earlier you said that it's baked in.
It's baked into the cake that is America. Absolutely. And he didn't get that. And boy, was he arrogant. Really, really arrogant. I loved your exchange with him. I have to say I was rooting for you.
Well, thank you. But I mean, that should have been an example for him that for 2 weeks he had a rating spike after that because there was something real on there, not just a bunch of pin-headed perseveration.
Well, and Piers Morgan, was no Larry King. I worked at CNN for years, 5 or 6 years when Larry King was there, and people always said, Larry King's stupid. Really? I knew Larry King pretty well. Not stupid at all. One thing about Larry King, he actually listened to other people. He'd have on guests. He would ask them interesting, evocative questions.
Well, if you heard his radio show back in the day, and I've actually gone in online and heard some of the old shows, he's really smart.
He's really smart, and he was good at getting interesting stuff. It's like Howard Stern, one of the great interviewers ever. I thought you had a great interview on his show.
Oh, he is good.
He gets the cool stuff out from his guest, whereas Piers Morgan, I always felt, was just interested in talking about himself and his friends and his stupid opinions and had this obnoxious accent. I love the idea of him being sent back to cold, fog-covered, unhappy, pasty white England.
I would feel weird if I lived in England and had a primetime TV show lecturing them all day, telling them that they, had bad dental work or something.
I know, becoming an anti-tea activist or attacking, the Queen or something. It's not your country,
Well, that's what Jay Leno told him behind the scenes, because I was told by Jay's people. He said, look, you stop lecturing people about our politics. It's not going to work. You're going to be...
Jay Leno is a good guy. I worked at MSNBC for 4 years, and I did something obnoxious many things obnoxious on my show. And one time Jay Leno came to my office and said, we're not great friends or anything, but he said, I just want to give you a piece of advice. What you just did was, you shouldn't have done that. You look like a jerk. And I said, why are you telling me this? He said, because I like you and I'm just giving you advice. And he was right. That guy's a nice guy who goes out of his way to...
Yeah, I was told he did that to Piers Morgan.
Yes, I'm sure he did, because he's that kind of person. And Piers Morgan, too. I was smart enough to take Jay Leno's advice. I think you get advice from someone who's survived.
The word is they got rid of him because he did those Obama jokes. Sorry,
I'm sure that's exactly right. I mean, look, I don't understand the reasoning. I mean, again, this is like, he's a rich guy, he'll be totally fine, whatever, he'll wind up somewhere else. But think about this. NBC fired him because he was first in his time slot? Have you ever heard? Twice they fired him, and both times he was number one in his time slot. When does that happen in broadcasting?
They tried to bury him, and then it worked still, so they just got rid of it.
Because he's unpopular with people in, New York and L.A., but everyone else seemed to like him. I like Jay Leno. Anyway, it tells you that it's not a meritocracy. I mean, you think that TV rewards people who are the most successful, but look at Piers Morgan, the fact that he hung on.
That's where I was going, is that it shows how rigged it is. They care about the politics and the trillions they'll control. It isn't even about the ratings, but then they still lose the audience. That's what the establishment doesn't get.
Yes.
I mean, when they program the people they put, and I'm no genius, but it's unwatchable now what's on CNN and MSNBC.
Yes.
Dylan Ratigan has the high time slot because he's ranting and raving about both parties being bad, so they don't renew his contract. They don't want real people in there.
I don't know what the hell they want. I mean, presumably they want to succeed. They have shareholders who are demanding profits. You would think they would make wise market-based decisions, but they don't. They made Christiane Amanpour the host of the Sunday show on ABC. I don't think her husband wants to listen to her talk, much less viewers.
Like some kind of lecturing vampire.
It was bizarre. It was bizarre. And they should have, Jake Tapper would have been great. No, they've put Christiane Amanpour because she was friends with the wife of the president of the network. I mean, that's not a smart way to make decisions.
No, it shows it's total elite cliques that are disconnected, like Marie Antoinette from... We talked about Drudge in this great taped interview that's going to air in a couple days on the Nightly News. But getting back to that, I remember him a decade ago on C-SPAN. Well, I mean, you were talking about it, saying you're all gone, you're not going to have jobs, it's over. And of course, he's been proven right now.
Completely. I sat there in the audience in 1998 at the National Press Club as he told the reporters assembled that they were working for dying news organizations. And by the way, they laughed at him because at the time, the Washington Post had a flat-out monopoly, and so did all the papers. LA Times, they were awash in cash. Their reporters are flying first class on assignment.
Why is Drudge such a visionary?
Drudge is a visionary because he follows his own instincts. There's no board of directors at Drudge. If Drudge thinks it's interesting and thinks his readers will think it's interesting, he puts it up and he does it instantly. And he has an unerring sense, an unerring instinct for things that are interesting. He has a mix. Drudge takes his page. It's technology from 20 years ago, and it's still the most compelling thing on the internet because he takes it and he tells a story with other people's headlines. It's brilliant. If you want to know Drudge's view of America, read the Drudge Report every day. Don't even click on a headline. Just read the headline.
And it gives you a gestalt, a snapshot of what's going on.
Exactly. And Drudge is some of his obsessions, and I think it's fair to call them that, things he's really interested in. He's been interested in for 20 years, but only now seem relevant. For instance, weather. Drudge was always focused on the weather. I never cared about the weather. All of a sudden, weather is like something that we're really concerned about.
NSA spying.
NSA spying, exactly. The privacy stuff. People 15 years ago said, boy, that Drudge is a little bit paranoid about the government spying on us. Well, it turns out he was prescient, not paranoid. He was absolutely right.
Well, listen, 15 years ago, I had stickers over my laptops. People, family would laugh at me, and now it comes out. We know
the camera on your laptop.
Absolutely, government in the U.S. is taking millions of shots a year without warrants. Schools are watching kids at home with them. I mean, of course, there's going to be a power grab by the authoritarians.
Well, it's scary, and technology definitely empowers the people who control it. And if the U.S. government controls technology, then they have an awful lot of
And
power.
if they get away with it, I mean, take the Austin police chief. I should have brought this up. He was in here last Friday, or no, I guess it's Monday. It was a few days ago, whatever. The point is that it's a federal initiative. They want to dial all the private security cameras in so the police can look at them. Well, pretty soon it's going to be mandatory.
See, I'm really bothered by that, intensely bothered, because I don't care what the intent is. I mean, presumably the intent is to stop bad people and protect the rest of us. But in practice, large organizations almost can never resist the inherent temptation to abuse their power. The more power you amass, the greater the temptation to abuse that power. And you see this in every big organization, whether it's the church, whether it's universities, and most profoundly of all, the biggest organization in human history, the federal government of the United States. And so giving them that power, even if it's, for presumably noble ends, is a real risk. I think it's really unwise. The founders understood you want to take power and make it diffuse. You want to vest some with this guy, some with that guy, some with the third guy, and make sure that, it's the same principle. You give, it takes 3 keys to open a safe. You're not going to get any theft if you have that. But if you have one guy holding the key to the safe, he can loot the safe.
And generally it will end up happening because power corrupts and absolute power tends to corrupt absolutely.
Truer words have never been spoken. It's a cliche for a reason.
Here's an article from yesterday, Infowars.com. You read it here first. Government spies on innocent people via webcams, laptops, Xbox. Latest Snowden leak confirmed story Infowars broke 8 years ago. We had the patents and Google bragging that they were watching people over their webcams, and then said they heard a dog barking, they would have a dog food ad pop up. And then it turns out that they're listening, and it's just absolutely incredible.
You just wonder, if I was a paranoid schizophrenic, I mean, there are people who are unduly paranoid.
Oh, there are obviously people think the sun is falling.
Right. They read this. I mean, they must be ready to jump off a bridge. I mean, I am very unparanoid by temperament completely. I have very high self-esteem, so I assume everyone likes me. I assume all is well. I'm just an optimist by nature. It's just genetic. It's built in. Nothing I did. Even I feel a little bit watched, knowing all this information.
Well, that's the panopticon, Foucault's panopticon, because even though they're not really watching all the time, or they can't even control the data, it makes you feel like you're being watched, so you self-censor.
But it bothers me that more Americans aren't upset about it. When I was there on this, I'll never forget being on the set when at Fox reporting out this NSA story as it first broke, the Snowden story. And feeling, mixed feelings about it, but feeling horrified by the fact that the NSA could read my email and capture my texts and listen to my phone calls. I was shocked by how few people shared my view of this.
Oh, it's like knowing your neighbor every day is looking at you through your window.
But I'm really bothered by that. Why aren't more people bothered? I'm starting to feel like a crazy person. Am I crazy? I don't know. I don't think I am.
But the issue is, it's not that we have something to hide. We draw the blinds at night for privacy. But you have to have privacy to have basic liberty.
Of course. There is no freedom without privacy. And the idea, I love it when people say things like, well, if you have nothing to hide, then why does it bother you? Really, can I have the password to your email? Of course you're not going to give me the password to your email, because privacy is a basic human need. And if you violate it, you've dehumanized me.
Well, the New York Times, as you know, you're absolutely right, just came out a few months ago talking to the New York Observer. So they have to go to kind of the alternative media of the newspapers to even get heard. And they interviewed over 30 people, and they all said, no, quote, we're not relevant. We cannot get our stories picked up or heard. Because that's what you want in media, is to put your new breaking story out and then have others pick it up and then affect the culture in a good way. I wear my bias of a libertarian patriot openly and naked, my bias towards truth. But I can put stories out every day that end up becoming a national news story, even if a great site like drudgereport.com doesn't pick it up. But what must it be like for the New York Times now to have little ragtag sites like mine becoming more relevant than them because they're so discredited? How long can the power structure keep moving forward when the gray lady is dead?
Well, it's a niche publication, like so many. So
wannabe trendies that think
right.
they're...
I mean, the New York Times has a lot of, I think, influence from, say, 101st Street all the way down to Times
and fashion
Square on the West Side. Right? I mean, so a certain kind of Manhattan dweller pays attention to the New York Times, and nobody else does increasingly. And the reason nobody else does is because they don't try hard enough to be straight. They really don't. They don't make an effort. They obsess over their... I mean, I'm not anti-gay in the slightest, but I don't think that every single development on gay marriage is the most important thing. And I've always been for gay marriage, but I just don't think...
Well, exactly. Like Ukraine's really important. But I told my reporters, my God, 80% of our articles have to be about Ukraine.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, at a certain point, I'm getting sick of Ukraine.
But Ukraine might be a little bit more important
because it might start a war
than the latest development on gay marriage. There is not a day that goes by. They are obsessed, and at some point, you don't take them seriously.
Well, listen, I used to never even think about it and didn't care. I'm getting sick of it that I can't turn on any children's programming without it being in.
I couldn't agree more.
I am very offended.
Just back off and be tolerant. Don't be in my face. I don't know. Let people have their own views. I think you should just respect other people.
You mean be liberal?
To disagree.
Because they're not really liberals.
At all. They're authoritarians.
Thomas Jefferson was a liberal. Exactly. Alex Jones here to tell you about how you can help spread liberty worldwide while also enjoying what I have found to be the best tasting 100% organic coffee on the planet. For more than a decade, my favorite coffee has come from the high mountains of southern Mexico, where the Chiapas farmers grow their unique shade-grown Arabica beans. We have now managed to secure these sought-after beans in a highly customized blend. Discover and try a bag of the Patriot Blend 100% organic coffee at InfoWarsLife.com. This coffee gives you a long, smooth pick-me-up for hours without the headaches and heartburn that so many other coffees give me personally. Hands down, this is my favorite coffee, and it's taken us years to secure connections directly to the Chiapas Mexican farmers. Drop by the site today, order a bag or two, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Available in original or with our Immune Support Infusion Blend. You will be supporting a free press, all the while enjoying a truly great-tasting cup of my favorite coffee. Available at InfoWarsLife.com.